Osprey Island Lodge is located on the turquoise waters of Lake Clark, 150 miles west of Anchorage near Alaska's famous Bristol Bay salmon runs. During the month of July, the Alaskan Brown Bears feed on the migrating salmon that swim up the shallow rivers and creeks to spawn. Now, anglers often encounter the big brown bears. This smaller one a few minutes earlier tried to take some fish from our outfitter, Gary Pogany, who had flown upriver in his float plane.
Just before you came around the corner, I came back because I lost my lure, and the bear was already on the fishing tackle and the bag with the fish in it. And of course, I was concerned about our fishing vest, and the fish is what he was after, and he didn't want to back off, and I really didn't want to lose all our gear. So
how far
it was sort of a
was he?
standoff. We got within about 20 yards of each other, pretty close. I finally pushed a little bit forward, and he decided to go the other way. He walked off slowly, then turned around and came back a little bit.
Were you nervous?
Actually, I was. I didn't have any firearm or anything. And it's hard to swim with hip boots on.
Yeah. So it is a little scary, even to you who see bear.
Absolutely. You never know what they're going to do, especially the young ones. The bigger ones are pretty predictable. They usually run off, but the small ones are hungry, and food becomes a priority.
Gary Pogany has a cautious attitude towards Alaskan brown bears, and he shares it with his fishermen customers by flying every fishing party into the famous Brooks River at Katmai National Park for a few hours of bear watching. The salmon don't have an easy time jumping waterfalls, so they congregate in the pools below. The bears have learned this long ago, so every July, brown bears convene on the brooks, as well as other rivers throughout the Alaskan coastal regions. Some bears are very adept at catching salmon, and some aren't. It seems to be an innate ability that either a bear has it or it doesn't. Some chase the salmon, some stand and watch before making a move, some stand in the pools and wait for salmon to swim by their feet. The bears we're watching are called Alaskan Brown Bears. They're actually grizzlies that live near the coastal areas and during the summer feed on fish. That's the main distinction between a brown bear and a grizzly. The brown bear is larger, probably because of its fish diet that is abundant and widespread in Alaskan rivers in the summer. Now, don't confuse these bears with teddy bears. Teddy bears don't move. These bears do, and they're extremely hostile towards one another. Bears of all species are solitary critters except for mating season. Otherwise, they're independent. And with brown bears, the only time they come together other than mating is during the salmon runs, and a mysterious truce is observed by most bears at this time. It's not a total truce. It's a tolerance during the salmon runs as long as other bears keep their distance. There's a distinct hierarchy of brown bear dominance. At the top of the ladder are the big males, the ones who do the mating, and size is the main factor. Second on the ladder is a sow bear, a female with cubs. A female with larger, older cubs takes precedent over a female with smaller cubs. It's obvious here that the bigger bear is driving the smaller one away. Then when an even larger bear, undoubtedly a big male, steps into the river, the second bear backs down. That's the pecking order. And the third on the ladder is a group of siblings, young bears that are weaned but still stick together. As a group, they have more clout than the lowest on the pecking order, the single, unattached males and females that aren't particularly large. These solitary bears take a beating from the rest of the bear world. Some of the big dominant males have particular pools they use for salmon fishing, and they use these same pools year after year, and all the other bears know it, stepping aside when the dominant bruin appears. Competition for fishing territory and a violation of distance, just getting too close, are two main reasons for bear fights at this time of year. And anytime two strange bears meet each other for the first time, a fight usually breaks out to establish dominance. This posturing happens constantly among bears, and they mean business. A few years ago, from this very viewing platform, horrified tourists watched a big boar bear chase and catch a cub, kill it, and start to eat it. Not exactly what these tourists came to photograph, but that's life in the world of bears, and it's rough. There's a 40% mortality of bear cubs during their first year, and the leading cause of death is probably big males looking for an easy meal. Alaskan brown bears on Kodiak Island are about the same size as polar bears, upwards of 1,500 pounds. The only mammal that grows larger would be an elephant, a rhino, or a hippopotamus. The hair-trigger temper on a bear isn't appreciated enough by humans, though. Too many people think of bears as teddy bears, cute and cuddly. Well, they're cute all right, but hardly cuddly. Their strong jaws and teeth, complemented by those sharp claws, can tear a human apart in moments. There are probably 30 of us watching these bears from an elevated platform. Everybody's taking pictures, and you can see this bear's reaction as it spots another bear coming from a distance. With each bear, its comfort zone, its space that it needs around it, varies. Bear attacks on humans used to be relatively common until the early 70s, when the Park Service instituted strict camping and bear watching policies in Alaskan parks. Park rangers are assigned to monitor the bears and monitor the tourists all day long and keep them as far apart as possible. The trail that we all walked in on now has a brown bear sauntering through.
Try and get back on the stairwell, please. You know, a bigger bear would just go through and do his business. This guy has no place to go.
Yeah, okay.
This isn't a bear that's ready to attack, but if a human walked towards it, it could be.
Please
Okay,
climb
back
on there
on.
and save me a space.
20 years ago, most bears wouldn't come this close to humans. Every year, the average distance gets closer, and people who don't realize the danger try to get close to the brown bears to take pictures. Park rangers say the next bear attack is only a matter of time. Well, here we are fishing many miles from the Brooks River. A relatively small Alaskan brown bear made a beeline for a group of anglers that were fishing and catching salmon right here a few moments before. I was reeling in a beautiful rainbow trout at the time, but that bear was interested in looking for salmon that those terrified anglers left behind, and sure enough, he found one. So why did these fishermen run for their float plane? Because no one can be sure when a bear will chase a human the way they chase each other. An old Alaskan guide once said, if you know what a bear is going to do next, then you know more than it does. Remember that, please. Well, here's the paw of a grizzly bear. These long claws are lethal. One swipe and it would take many stitches to close the wound. That's why grizzlies are so dangerous. Now, the paw of a black bear is much smaller. The claws are shorter, and while black bear attacks are more frequent to humans, these encounters are rarely serious. Now, hunters know this, but they're still concerned.